Live streaming of SDR news coverage at HP Discover has been made possible by Intel Corporation. Check out Intel Open Port IT, where you can connect with your peers at Intel on industry topics, best practices, strategies, and more. And by Microsoft, where HP and Microsoft are working together, combining their respective strengths to deliver innovative technologies to help advance your business.
Welcome to our coverage, continuing coverage of HP Discover in Barcelona. I'm Andy McCaskey from SDR News, and I'm joined by a gentleman from Intel, Patrick Budenbaum. Pat, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Andy. Good to see you again.
Whether it was Las Vegas or whether it was at Frankfurt when we had a chance to visit.
It's just a whirlwind, right?
It does. It kind of runs together. Mm-hmm. Well, you have spent so many years in your career in critical computing and high-performance fail-safe types of environments.
Certainly, yeah.
But you had a chance to kind of jump into innovation theater and provide a little bit of a glimpse that covers the whole range of Intel products. Tell us about that.
Well, Andy, what we're doing from a data center perspective is really trying to optimize our portfolio for the range of computing systems that are going on out there today. And certainly, the opportunities that we see around the software-defined infrastructure, around servers, storage, and networking now all being driven off of standard high-volume class servers is clearly one of the most exciting things I think we've seen from an innovation perspective in the recent years. I've been wandering the hall floor here all morning, right, and looking at what HP is doing, and certainly their software-defined storage, software-defined networking strategies are so well aligned with ours, and we're really, really excited just by the alignment that the companies have. On top of that, you get a lot of the innovation going on in the software space, and HP again, I attended one of the innovation theaters around the Cloud OS, and taking OpenStack as this orchestration layer then for all the work that's going on in that infrastructure. It's just changing so quick, but it's amazing.
Well, there are so many exciting things going on between cloud computing and this whole notion of Internet of Things.
Yes.
50 billion devices by 2020.
Are you going to be counting them?
I don't know, but they're certainly going to draw a lot of power.
Exactly.
As far as sensors, and that's really one of the main constraints that you have in actually making this happen, right?
Well, certainly, what we've been looking at, and one of our former GMs of the Embedded Systems Group is now the Intelligent Systems Group, and he had this great mantra where if the device is going to consume electricity, it's going to compute. If it's going to compute, it's going to connect to the internet, and it's going to do so intelligently. And so we've brought an entire Atom portfolio, and most recently at our recent IDF, we introduced the Intel Quark, which is also targeted more for wearables, but also into some of these embedded sensor networks. And so across the range, you're going to see all of these devices now being able to intelligently interact with your data center infrastructure, and the notion of starting to do distributed analytics, where you do some analytics at the edge device, some analytics at a gateway aggregation point, and some analytics within the data center itself. That really is becoming the big data conversation now.
So that really it clarifies for me the reason that a simple microcontroller couldn't be used to just read a temperature sensor. That's not going to be changing radically moment to moment.
Sure. Yeah.
But the ability to integrate that with other data in a node, different story.
It starts to form almost like a little mesh network.
Yes.
And you want some of those devices to communicate with each other. It's a fairly mundane example, but one of the things we looked at is with air conditioning companies, where they build those big air conditioners that sit on top of a skyscraper, right? And one may power one floor, one may power another floor, et cetera. And so each of those in and of itself is its own contained system. But when you start connecting them, bringing intelligence into treating the building as an entire device instead of by floors, it creates opportunities where the interaction of the devices is just as important, and it creates a much more efficient infrastructure then.
So all this is exciting to talk about and think about.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to bring it back down to people who are trying to manage resources, deliver business agility, and keep focused on the needs of their business customers. How does all this help people?
The interesting thing is, these days we see IT organizations not just supporting the business, but in a lot of cases, becoming the business, right? If you look at BMW as an example, right? Of course, BMW manufactures cars, but do they, right? And in the future, every one of those cars is going to be a connected device that they're managing through their cloud service, and ultimately, customer satisfaction is going to be driven by the IT organization services to those cars, and then cars just become a means to drive that. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting challenge for a lot of these IT shops of how do you take some of these older infrastructures and be able to compete in this new day, new age when things are moving so quickly, and you need the utmost in efficiency, agility, and that's why things like the private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud discussions are going on. It's how do you compete with competitors that are maybe outsourcing to cloud services.
So in many ways, the hardware is really the enabler for the business intelligence, and it's the business intelligence that gives you the insights that give you the competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
So that ties it all together.
Yep.
And it's fun to think about the hardware portion of it, and it's fun to think about that part.
One of our partners had stated something that I think also sums up what you were looking at, or what you were just suggesting, which is the cloud conversation, right, is really about creating the most efficient IT infrastructure you can get. Now, whether you choose to deploy it on-premise or kind of a hybrid environment where you may use an outsourced service, it's around creating that efficiency. Now, the big data conversation is probably not as much an IT conversation. It's about business transformation, right? So cloud is around IT transformation, big data is around business transformation. How can you use all these data sources to offer better services to your customers, better compete with your competitors, and ultimately satisfy your employees? So,
it all sounds wonderful, but there's got to be some roadblocks that are going to have to be overcome. What do you think the top 2 or 3 might be?
As part of the big data conversation?
Yes, and as a part of achieving this transformation that's in process.
Yeah, certainly a big buzz around big data is the role of the data scientist. And data scientists seem to be in short supply right now with respect to, they're the ones that seem to be able to translate the business need with the IT infrastructure and knowing what questions to ask, right? We don't have a data problem right now. We have the problem of trying to understand what is the right question to be asking to extract from the data. And so that's certainly one of the big challenges. The other is just with the sheer amount of, right? Do you choose to store everything? What's your storage infrastructure for this, for the data sources? And then
judging the value of okay, if you store it, that's going to be a certain investment to make that happen.
Absolutely.
And not only to store it, but to go back and search it and be able to extract invaluable information, there's a cost involved. And is the benefit strong enough to pull that through?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of that challenge is also knowing, you may store something based on the question you want to ask today. Yeah. What about the question you want to ask tomorrow?
Different question tomorrow.
You may regret throwing that data away, right? So,
well, where can people go to find out more about some of Intel's efforts and Intel and HP's efforts working together on this topic?
Well, certainly www.intel.com. That's a great starting point. Intel IT organization also is very open with respect to sharing their cutting edge methodologies and practices that they're doing. And so from an end customer perspective, I'd also highly encourage intel.com/IT as a landing zone because there's just a wonderful IT center resource of sharing their BKMs.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks very much for joining us here.
Yeah, great to see you again, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks to you folks for joining us as well. Continuing coverage at HP Discover in Barcelona.